In the previous video, I went over how I made Souls RNG in 1 hour, so this video here will be the full tutorial. So let's get started. So I'm just going to open up a base plate over here. And the first thing we have to do is create the effects. I'm no particle expert, so I'm just going to use particle effects from the toolbox. So you can just look up particle pack and insert the first one you see. So I'll use this one called Raise Particle Pack. Alright, so I have it in the workspace right now. I'm going to move it out of the way. And basically what I'm going to do to store the effects is I'm going to insert a rig to hold it. So you can go under Avatar and then open up the rig builder. And we want an R6 rig, and we'll use a block avatar. Alright, so we got a rig over here. Let me just put him down here. And before you do anything else, you want to change the game settings to only allow R6 characters. This is very important, and it won't work unless you change it to R6. So I guess you have to save the game to Roblox first, so let me just do that. Call it RNG test, and then save it. Alright, so I'm going to open up game settings again. Alright, so if you go under avatar, you can click R6 only and then click save. Would you like to proceed? Yes. So now that we've made the game R6 only, we can get started on making the auras. The aura just consists of a title that goes above the head, like over here, and then the actual effect itself. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of this rig title we have over here. So we can go inside the rig, inside its humanoid, and we can change its display distance type to none. And we can go under head and insert a billboard GUI. So in the billboard GUI, you want to insert a text label. So once you insert the text label, you should see this white box up here. But you notice it's inside the head, and we want it to be above the head. So we can go inside the billboard GUI's properties, and we can go to stud offset and change it to 0 to 0. So now that it's floating above the head. We also want to make sure that the max distance isn't infinity, so we can change it to like 30. Basically, the max distance is the farthest away you can be from the text label for it to still render. So since we set to 30, when you get further than 30 studs away, the text label should disappear. Alright, the next thing to do is to customize the text label. So we can go inside the text label, and I'm going to change the background transparency to 1 to make invisible. I'll make the text size a little bigger, so let's change it to like 30. And instead of just having the word label, we're going to change it to the aura's name. So this aura right here, I'm just going to call legendary, and it'll be the rarest aura in the game. I'm going to change the text color to like pink, and then change the font as well to something less ugly. Something else we can do is insert a UI stroke inside the text label. So this will give it a nice little outline over here, so we can even make it thicker. Like that. So the next thing you want to do is to create the actual effect itself. So you want to insert an attachment inside the torso. So you can click this plus sign over here, search for the attachment, and insert it. So basically how the effect works is you'll have a bunch of particle emitters inside the attachment. And the point of the attachment is to keep the particles connected to the character. So what you can do is you can go over to the particle pack you inserted and find the particle emitters, and you can just duplicate it and then put it inside the attachment. So I'm going to duplicate these particle emitters over here. I'm going to drag them inside this attachment I've inserted. So now the rig has the effect inside. And you can even modify the particle effects. So let's say I want to change the color. I can change it to whatever I want. Maybe I want it to be red. So the flames that go up there are red, and maybe I want to bring everything else down a bit. So I can even insert another attachment inside the original attachment, and I can bring that down to its feet. So I can put the other attachments inside that second attachment, and now the particles will be coming out of their feet, so it looks a lot cooler. But it also kind of blocks the text, I notice. So what you can do is go to the Billboard GUI and select the Always on Top option. So this will ensure it's presented at the front of your screen. So that looks pretty good for the effect. Now the last thing you want to do is you want to make sure everything is named properly. Since your aura is called Legendary, you want to name everything Legendary. So the rig has to be named Legendary. The Billboard GUI you had also has to be named Legendary. And the attachment you originally inserted also has to be named Legendary. The most important thing is to name it whatever you put your aura as. So you name the attachment, you name the Billboard GUI, and you name the actual rig itself. Alright, so fast forward a bit, I now have 5 different auras that I made. So after you have all the auras you want, what you want to do is create a folder for them in server storage. So this will just keep them hidden away from the players until you need to use them. So I'm going to insert a folder, and I'm going to call it Effects. And we want to insert all of the rigs inside. So let me just minimize this. So put all the models inside that folder. Alright, so the next step is to make the GUIs. So there'll be 2 main GUIs in this game. You got the Roll GUI and you have the Inventory GUI. So let's make the Roll GUI first. So you want to go into Start GUI and then insert a Screen GUI. We'll call it Roll GUI. Now the first thing we have to insert in this Screen GUI is probably the Roll button. So we'll insert a text button. I'll bring it down here. And we can customize it a bit. We'll change the text to roll, scale it, maybe have the background color to like black, but we'll change the background transparency to like 0.8 or 0.85 and insert a UI stroke inside to give it a nice outline. I want to change the stroke mode to border. I want to thicken up that border. Maybe make the border white. Insert a UI corner inside to round the button a bit. And then change the font. Change the font and maybe the color as well. So you have a roll button right over there. I'll just name the button roll. Oh, one more thing you should probably change is the sizing. You want to change it to something that doesn't use the amount of pixels on the screen. So you can change it to these dimensions over here. So 0.150 and 0.075. This will ensure that it's scaled properly through all devices. And you also want to put it like maybe in the middle of the screen. So I'm just going to change the anchor point to 0.5, 0.5, and then change the position to 0.5, 0, 0.85, and 0. Maybe a little lower, like 0.9. Yeah, that's a good spot. Now we also need a frame in the background. In Souls RNG, when you click roll, this kind of almost invisible frame shows up and it has text at the top and it tells you you've rolled something. So we'll make that right now. So under Roll GUI, we'll insert a frame. So I'll just call it Roll Frame. And we want it to take up the full screen. So we'll do 1010. And make the background black. Change the transparency to 0.85. And we'll add a text label inside to tell them what they rolled. So we can have text that says you rolled ... So make the background invisible, scale the text, change the font, add an outline perhaps, and just make it fancier. And then change the size as well. And the last thing you want to do is go under the Screens UI and we'll disable reset on spawn and ignore GUI inset to true. So turn off reset on spawn and turn on ignore GUI inset. Now just label the text label and call it title. Alright, inside the roll frame you want to insert 2 folders. So the first folder will be called currently displayed, and the second folder will be called effects display. So under effects display, it's basically the options that come up when you roll. So you'll have a bunch of words that are actually the aura's names, and it'll display the chance underneath. So they just kind of like come and go until the one you rolled shows up. So we'll make one of those right now. So how you'd make that is you'd insert a frame inside. And the frame's name has to be the aura's name. So I'm going to make this for the legendary aura that we made earlier. So call it legendary. We'll size it properly. So maybe like 0.30, 0.30. Something like that, and have it go around in the middle. Now it consists of 2 parts. So you have the title and you have the chance that's displayed underneath. So the title will go on top and it'll be the bigger label. Call it legendary. And we'll make the font and everything else the same. So I had pink before, so I'll have it pink now. Add a UI stroke inside, and then scale the text. Maybe make it a little smaller. So this is the title, and then we'll have another text label for the chance. So insert another text label inside that frame. We'll just call it chance. I'll put it like down here. I will scale it properly. And then we'll write the text in. So we'll say that the chance of rolling a legendary aura would be 1 in 100. So we'll say 1 in 100 chance. And then you can change the font or whatever to make it look nice. And we'll make the frame's background transparency to 1. And do the same thing for the 2 text labels we put inside. Maybe I'll make that white. So this is what it'll look like when it shows up on screen. You want to make one of these frames for each one of your auras. Alright, so when you have one frame for each one of your auras, you want to just make it invisible by going to the visible property and turning it off, and then just leaving it. And you also want to make sure that the positions are all the same. So you want to position it slightly above halfway. So all the positions should be something like this. So like the y-axis would be scaled to 0.4. So it's slightly above the middle. Because what we're going to do is we're going to tween it down to the middle afterwards to make it look like it's moving. Alright, so for the frames, all the sizes and all the positions have to be the same. So for the size, I had it set to 0.25, 0, 0.15, and for the position, I had it set to 0.5, 0, 0.4, 0. And I also made sure all the anchor points were 0.5, 0.5. So once you have that done, we can move on to the inventory GUI. So you want to insert a screen GUI into start GUI. And we'll call it the inventory GUI. Alright, so you want to add a frame to start. This will go maybe in the bottom right. And maybe we'll scale it to like 0.20, 0.650. So we got a frame over here, and we can make it look nice. So we can insert a UI corner to round it, and then a UI stroke as a border. So I'll make it thicker, maybe change the background as well to like brown or something. And I'll call it mainframe. So next thing I want to do is add a title at the top, scale it properly, so scale it to like 0.10, and I'll have text that says inventory. I'll make the background invisible by setting background transparency to 1, scale the text. I'm going to call the text label title, just so I don't get mixed up. Maybe use a nicer font. Next thing I want to do is insert a scrolling frame. This is where all of the auras that the players own will be stored inside. So it'll be stored inside this scrolling frame over here. So we'll insert it inside the main frame. So I'm going to change the size to 1, 0, 0. Maybe 0.80. Move it up a bit. And I'm going to change the background transparency to 1. And the last thing we're going to do is add 2 text buttons to the bottom. So this will be used to equip and unequip the auras. So the first button here, we're going to call it equipped. I'll change the text and then change the sizing as well. And then make it look nice, so we can insert UI corners and UI strokes inside. Just make sure the UI stroke mode is border. And I'll change the background to green. So we're just making it look nice. Alright, so we have the equip button over there. So now we need the unequip button. So I just had it selected in the Explorer over here and I clicked Ctrl D. Now I'm going to change the name to unequip, change the text, and change the background color to red. Alright, so inside the scrolling frame we want to insert a UI grid layout. So this will help us make all of the aura entries look nice and neat. We want to add a folder and call it effect titles. So basically these will be text buttons inside that you can select, and then you click equipped and it'll equip the effect that you selected. So to make one of these buttons, you can insert a text button inside and then stylize it. So we'll scale it down properly so it looks good. So 1, 0, maybe 0.050. Yeah, so that sizing looks good. And we'll make it for the legendary button, just like the other examples that we did. We call it legendary over here so the player knows which effect that they're trying to equip. So we have the text there. And I'll make it look like the actual effect itself. So I'm going to change the font, the color, add a background. And then maybe scale the text as well. And then make the background invisible. So the last thing you have to do, and it's really important, is you have to name the text button to the name of the aura. And you can't have anything misspelled. So we'll call it legendary. So after you have all your buttons done, you want to make them invisible. So you can just select them all and make the visible property to false, so you can uncheck this box over here. Alright, so now onto the scripting. So the first thing you want to do is you want to insert a remote event into replicated storage. So you can click the plus sign, search remote event, and call the remote event role. And then you want another remote event, so insert another remote event. This one you're going to call show roles result. Now you're going to go back into your GUI and you're going to find this button over here. I had it called role. Maybe I should call it role button so it's easier for me to find. and I'm going to insert a local script inside. So in the local script, this is what you're going to write. So you want to get the role event in replicated storage. So local role event equals game get service replicated storage wait for child role, and you should see it pop up as well. If you don't, it means you've done something wrong. Maybe you've spelt it wrong or something else. And then you want to get the role display, and that's basically this frame over here. So local role display equals script.parent.role frame. And then you're going to use script.parent.mouse button went up, connect function, and you want to make the role display visible. You want to fire the role event. You want to wait 3.25 seconds, and then you want to make the role display invisible again. Okay, so let me just hide this role display over here because we don't need it right now. Now we're going to go into server script service and insert a regular script inside. So we need to get the server storage. Local server storage equals game get service server storage. We're going to get the replicated storage. We're going to get the role event. So replicated storage wait for child role. So we're going to get the show roles result event. Replicated storage wait for child show roles result. So now we're going to make a dictionary that stores the chances of getting any of the auras. So local chances equal, and then curly brackets. So inside here you're going to have the name of the auras. So I have 5 auras: common, legendary, lucky, natural, and rare. So I'm going to have 5 entries. So the first one I'm going to have is common, and I'm going to give it a rarity of 590, and you're going to have a semicolon. And then basically you list out all of the auras and you assign chances to them. So natural 210, rare 100, lucky 50, and legendary 10. So all of these numbers add up to 1,000. So basically the chance of getting a certain aura is the number divided by 1,000. So for example, the legendary aura is 10 divided by 1,000, which is 0.01 or 1% as a percentage. So you have a 1% chance of rolling the legendary aura on one roll. So the next thing we have to do is to make a function to actually do the rolling. A local function roll, and we're going to have a parameter called player. And we're going to connect the roll event to this function. So roll event on server event connect roll. Alright, so we're going to make a variable called list of results, and it'll be an empty table, so curly brackets. We're going to do for count equals 151, do local random equals math.random 1 to 1,000, local counter equals 0. For effect, weight in pairs chances, do counter equals counter plus weight. If random is less than or equal to counter, then table.insert list of results and the effect, and break. And then we'll do show roles results event, fire client player, list of results. So what we've done here is we've picked 5 different auras, and we're going to send it to the player, and we're going to use the last one as the aura that they received. So we're firing an event back to the player so that they can display all of the auras that they could have gotten. And let's just name the script so we don't get mixed up. I'll just call it roll. So the next thing we have to do is we have to handle actually adding the auras into the inventory. So we need to add a script inside server script service again. We're going to call it player handler. Before we start writing this script, we need to add another folder into server storage, and this one will hold all of the player's data, so we're going to call it player data. So back to the script, we will get the server storage. We're going to get the player service. And we're going to get the player data folder. So when a player joins, we want to create a folder for them. So we'll connect a function to the player added event, and we'll create a new folder. Player added also passes the player as a parameter, and we're going to assign the name of the folder to the user ID of the player. And we're going to parent the folder to the global data folder. We're going to create another folder called the inventory folder. We're going to call it inventory, and we're going to put it inside of the player data folder. And when the player leaves, we want to delete the folder. So players.player removing connect function player local player data folder equals global data wait for child player.user ID, and we're going to destroy the folder. I'm going to create a remote event and call it update inventory. Alright, and once we've added that remote event, we're going to go back into the role server script over here and then add a bit to it. So we're going to do task.wait 3.25 seconds. We'll actually get the inventory folder first. So local player data folder equals server storage wait for child player data wait for child player.user_id local inventory folder equals player data folder wait for child inventory. And then we're going to check if they own the aura already. So if inventory folder find for child list of results 5, then inventory folder wait for child list of results 5 dot value plus equals 1. Else we'll create an int value to store the amount of that particular aura that the player has. So local effect equals instance.new int value effect dot name equals list of results 5 effect dot value equals 1 effect dot parent equals inventory folder. And then we're going to fire the update inventory event that we just created. So first I have to go back and define it. So local update inventory event equals replicated storage wait for child update inventory. Update inventory event fire client player and list of result 5. Alright, so now we have to find a way to show that they own these auras that they've just unlocked. So we want to go into the inventory under its mainframe and then insert a local script inside. And we'll call it adding inventory. So the first thing we have to do is to get the replicated storage. Now we have to get the event, so the update inventory event. Now we have to get the scrolling frame, so local scrolling frame equals script.parent.scrolling frame. And then we have to get the list of effect titles. Local effect titles is equal to scrolling frame wait for child effect titles. we'll create a function which will add the items to their inventory, and then connect it to the update inventory event. So update inventory event on client event, connect add item. And inside the function, what we'll do is we'll clone the title. Effect titles, wait for child, effect, clone title.parent equals scrolling frame, and we'll make the clone title visible. Alright, now we have to add another script inside, which will allow us to select the title so that they can actually equip it. So we'll insert another local script inside the main frame of the inventory GUI. We'll call it effect selection. So first we have to get the scrolling frame, just equal script.parent.scrolling frame. Then we do scrolling frame.child added connect function child. If that child is a text button, then child.mouse button one up connect function where IV in pairs scrolling frame get children do. If V is a text button, then we'll change the background transparency to 1, and then change the selected button's background transparency to 0.75. Right, one thing we should do is go to the effect titles, make the background like slightly darker. So something like this. Alright, the next thing you have to do is go into the roles display. So the role frame over here, and then insert a local script inside. And we'll call it display role result. So basically the script will tween all of the labels that you see to make it look like the effect that they have in Souls RNG. So we'll get the tween service. We'll get the replicated storage. We will get the roles result event. So replicated storage, wait for child, show roles result. We'll get the effects display. We'll get the currently displayed folder. We'll have a variable for the target position for the tween. So udm2.new 0.50 0.450. We'll do local role tween info. Role tween info equals tween info dot new 0.25 enum dot easing style dot linear enum dot easing direction dot in 0 false, and have a function to show the results. Roles result. We'll connect it to the event. So show roles result event dot on client event connect show roles result. And we'll do for I effect in I pairs roles result do local cloned display equals effects display wait for child roles result square bracket I clone display dot parent equals currently displayed local tween equals tween service create clone display role tween info and position equals target position, clone display dot visible equals to true. We'll play the tween dot completed wait, and if I not equals to the amount in roll results, then we'll destroy the display, else we will wait 2 seconds and then destroy the display. Oh, one thing I did make a mistake on is it's not a UI grid layout, it's actually a UI list layout. So I'm going to delete it from the scrolling frame and insert a UI list layout instead. So let me just quickly test this. So we click roll and it tweens the titles and it puts it in the inventory. And when I click on it, it shows that it's been selected. Alright, so the last thing we have to do is the equipping system. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is insert a remote event into replicated storage again. And we're going to call it equipped effect. Now I'm going to go into the equip button over here, which is inside the inventory mainframe, and insert a local script inside. So I'm just going to call the script equip. First thing I'm going to do is get the replicated storage, game get service replicated storage, and then get the equipped effect event. Replicated storage, wait for child, equipped effect. Now I'm going to get the equip button and then the scrolling frame. I'm going to detect when the equip button is clicked. Now I'm going to create a variable called selected effect, set to nil. I'm going to go through all of the buttons. We'll go through all the buttons by doing scrolling frame get children, and we're going to check firstly if it is actually a text button. We're going to check if the background transparency is 0.75. Remember, when we click on the button, we turn all the buttons backgrounds to 1, but then we turn the one we selected into 0.75. So this was a way to check which button was actually selected. So if button transparency equals 0.75, selected effect equals b.name, and then break. And the last thing we want to do at the bottom over here is fire the event. So equipped effect event, fire server, equipped, and selected effect. Now we want to do the same thing for the unequipped button. So insert a local script into the unequipped button, and what you can do firstly is rename it to unequip, and then go to the equip script, copy and paste it into the new script over here. The only thing you have to change is the equip button is really an unequipped button. So replace everything where it says equip button. And instead of firing the server to equip it, we want to fire the server to unequip the selected effect. Alright, the next thing we have to do is go into the player handler and then create a folder called currently equipped. Currently equipped, and then parent it to the player data folder. Now we have to insert another script into server script service, and this is going to be the equip script. So the first thing we want to do is get the replicated storage, we want to get the server storage. We want to get the equipped effect event. We want to get the global data folder. And we want to get the effects. So we need a function for unequipped. We'll take in the player selected effect and the currently equipped folder. And basically how we want to unequip it is we want to find the head of the player. And we want to find the torso of the player. So if we can find both of them, so if the head and torso exists, and the selected effect is not nil, then we want to go inside the head and remove anything with the aura's name. So if b.name equals selected effect, then we want to destroy it. And then break out of the loop. Then you want to go into the torso, so I can just copy this for loop over here. So instead of going through the head, we can go through the torso. And after that, we can go into the currently equipped folder and destroy whatever was inside. The next function we want to work on was the equipped function. And it takes in the player, the selected effect, and the currently equipped folder as parameters. So first we need to get the effect. So effects, wait for child, selected effect. We need to get the title that's inside the rig that we made. So effect, wait for child, head, wait for child, selected effect, clone. And we need to get the particle. So effect, wait for child, torso, wait for child, selected effect, clone. Now we need to get the player's character. Now we want to parent the title to the player's head. And we want to parent the particle to the torso. We want to create a new string value that will store that this is the current aura that they're equipping. String value dot name equals selected effect. String value dot parent is equal to the currently equipped folder. Last function will handle everything, so local function equipped effect, player, operation type, selected effect, and we'll connect the equipped effect event to this function over here. So on server event, connect equipped effect. Our first thing we want to do is get the player data folder. So global data, wait for child, player.user_id. We want to get the inventory folder, which is inside the player data folder. And we want to get the currently equipped folder. First we'll check if the operation type is equipped and the selected effect actually exists. Now we want to check if they actually own the effect. So if inventory folder, find with child, selected effect, then now we'll check if they're currently not equipping anything. So if they're not equipping anything and the one they are equipping is not the same as the selected effect, then we'll call unequipped on player, current inventory folder, get children, one.name, and the currently equipped folder. If currently equipped folder get children equals 0, then we'll just equip the effect outright. Currently equipped folder. Else if currently equipped folder get children one.name is not equal to selected effect, then we will do the same. Else if operation type equals unequipped and selected effect and currently equipped folder find with child selected effect, then we'll call unequipped player selected effect currently equipped folder. Alright, we'll run that and we'll see how it goes. So I rolled once, got common, rolled twice, got common again, and we'll see if we can equip it. So select it and we'll click equipped. Oh, I see. Alright, so we'll go back to the equip script. I mistyped this. This should be not equals to 0. This third if statement over here should be not equal to 0. Let me run that again. So let's try to equip natural. As you can see, the aura is equipped. Now I can go to rare and equip that instead. Now I can unequip it as well. Oh wait, just realized I mistyped something again. So you need to go back to the equip script, and it's actually capital U. So with that, it should work now. I'm going to equip natural, and I'm going to unequip it. Now I'm going to equip common, and it's equipped it. So I can equip legendary again to show you what it looks like, and I think it looks pretty cool. And I think this game is pretty good to be done in 1 hour. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.